Welcome to Demolition TV Season 3. In this episode, the site manager wearing nail varnish. A man holds a tiny bottle, and although it's winter, we're looking at shorts. Kent Demolition's Ellen Paget is proving once and for all that demolition isn't necessarily a man's world.
Kent Demolition is a family-run business from Tunbridge Wells. We go around the southeast, demolishing anything, big, small, nothing's too difficult. We'll figure it out. We'll go and view the site. We'll have a site meeting, view the site, figure out what it is that we need to do the job correctly, safely, on time. Like I said, it's a family-run business. So I helped out one summer and fell in love with the job and stayed. And that was 7 years ago. Instead of sitting in an office all day, every day is different. I meet new people, I learn new skills. I get to drive the machines, I get to drive the lorries. Every day is just different. You come across so many different types of people, you meet neighbours, you meet clients, and I really enjoy it. Obviously it's different to all my friends. Some of them are mothers, some of them are fathers, some of them are hairdressers, and they all do various different things. I've got people in offices, and then I'm on site. I spend the day either in the rain or the mud, and I love it. I think it's great. So I'll get to site around 7, have kind of a site meeting with my other site manager, Dave. We'll discuss the day, what's going on. We'll then chat with the guys and the teams of guys we've got on site, put them on their roles and on their machines. They'll then go out and do what they need to do. I'll either be with a specific team, either up in one building, for example, and they're set up in one building, helping them with something, supervising them, driving various different machines and tools, while another team of guys are in another section. We then obviously will stop, have a break, and then reevaluate what we're doing, either carry on, or if one job's finished, we'll then start another task and carry on for that. End of the day, we then pack up all the machines, lock all the tools away, kind of have a kind of debrief, and then off we go. My dad is the top boss, and then I'm beneath him. 2 elder sisters, I'm the baby. They went off and got other jobs, and one of them got a family, and then I was just kind of after school, after I did my A-levels, I was waiting to go to college. Dad needed some help through the summer, and I hadn't quite figured out what I was going to do at college yet, so I thought, okay, for some time. Fell into it for 6 weeks and then didn't want to leave, didn't go to college. I've got my SMSTS, my SEATS, my asbestos awareness, first aid training. I've also got tickets to drive all the machines. Middle of last year I did my Arctic licence, so I passed that, so I've got my HGV. I want to do the fire marshal and the banksman certificate. We're keeping the business going just as we are. I'd like to step up a bit more so that Dad can chill out a bit more. He can have some time off, I can step up. You know, I've been doing it for 7 years. It'll be nice to be able to take more of a stronger role in running it. Teams of guys, working with them, or them working with me, you know, you kind of have to have an understanding that you've got different teams of guys, or everyone's got different personalities, everyone's got different skill sets. You need to have eyes everywhere at all times to make sure that they're doing the job correctly, safely, in the right way, and on time, that, you know, they are keeping up a regular pace so that the job is going to get done. Various different teams. I think we've got in a team there's about 3 or 4 guys, and we've got a few teams here and there, it depends when we need them. Obviously what skills they've got, what machines they can drive is when we kind of call them in. I think it helps me in a way because I'm a bit more approachable. When it comes to if someone comes to the gate, it's nice to kind of have a woman's involvement to, if there is any issues, I can kind of step in and calm situations down if needed. Not very often, but sometimes people also don't like the fact that I'm a woman. If I have various site managers that are obviously above me, but because of my qualifications and they're fairly, you know, my SMSTS is only a few years old, so it's still kind of fresh in my head. And because I'm actively on site as well, I know how to use the tools rather than just reading about it. I know how to do it. Some site managers aren't too keen on the fact that I sometimes know more than them. Other than that, our staff are absolutely fine. You know, I interview them, they contact me if they want a job. I'll do the interviews with them. They're fully aware of my role, so that they're absolutely fine with it. Sometimes when truck drivers come in, lorry drivers come in, they aren't too sure about me, what my role is, what I'm doing, but they soon learn. I kind of put on a boss hat. You know, if they try anything or they say anything, and I've got the backup of my guys and obviously my dad. Like I said, my guys are absolutely fine. They're great. It's when people assume, or they come into the office and they assume I'm either in the office or the coffee maker, which it isn't my role. And they get very shocked if I jump in a machine and start driving around in a machine, or if I move a lorry. I do get stares quite often. I've never ever had a woman come up to me or approach me or email or make a phone call asking for any sort of job. Nothing at all. Women have this idea that demolition is a male's job, it's a man's role, he should be the one doing it. And even when I tell people that I do demolition, they either don't know what it is or are very shocked and then decide to ask me if I'm in the office. And when I tell them that I drive the machines and actually own a pair of gloves that are slightly dirty, they're very surprised. I don't think women are aware of it. So it almost needs to be more broadly broadcasted that women are involved. I mean, I know on some adverts of big house builders, they've got women in the background or in the pictures. I assume that's to kind of invite women to enter that role. But on the ground, I don't think women are aware that the girls can do it. I would explain to them that it can be sexist. There's no lying about it. It can be sexist. It has always been a male-dominated industry. However, if I can do it, anyone else can do it. It's a case of there's nothing that the guys can do that I can't do. If something's too heavy, a guy asks a guy to help, I'll ask a guy to help. There's nothing that they can do that I can't do. Tool-wise, I can use all the tools, like I've said, I can drive all the machines. There isn't a case of, no, women can't do this, women can't do that, because we clearly can. I like makeup, I like my hair done, I always have my signature pink nails on, I get them done constantly. I just don't wear hoodies and boots. I like to dress more feminine because that's me as a person rather than trying to counteract what I wear for work. It's me as a person, but obviously on site I can't walk around in my everyday clothes. If the guys decided to put up a woman's calendar, I would remove it because I think it's distasteful anyway. Not just because I'm a woman, because whatever, it's distasteful. I think it makes people uncomfortable. If you have clients on site, if you have visitors to site and there was a naked woman on the wall, I think it's uncomfortable. I think in a workplace it's unnecessary. My guys, at the end of the day, their canteen's always clean and tidy, and that's done throughout the day. The office is always clean and tidy. Whether that's a site manager's role or a woman's role, who knows? We're friendly to each other. There's no screaming, shouting, swearing. It's all, again, friendly to each other. Whether that's because I am a woman, again, who knows? I got brought up with my dad driving machines and knowing his job. Much did my sisters and my nieces and nephews. They've been brought up around this kind of lifestyle and this way of living. So my kids will do the same. Whether she chooses or not to work with me, that's entirely up to her.
Schultz Group is taking down a former perfume factory in London, and it was a first outing for the company's new Hitachi 350. Demolition runs on diesel, but it's a notoriously filthy fuel. But there is an alternative.
This is a sample of GTL. GTL is a liquid fuel, as you can see. It's a straight replacement for conventional diesel, which all of the demolition industry will obviously be very familiar with as one of their core fuels. So GTL itself is a paraffinic fuel. There are various types of paraffinic fuel. Gas to liquids, as it says, starts off as a gas, it's turned into a liquid, and then it's refined from that point. So a number of different products come from that refined liquid gas, just like they would from conventional oil. The major benefit, of course, is that with the paraffinic fuel, it's much cleaner to start with, and so you end up with much cleaner fuels to use at the end of the process. It's an absolute drop-in replacement, in the sense that if you had 5 litres left in the bottom of a conventional fuel, you could put the GTL on the top and it would just continue. So there's no clean-up process, there's no changes to the engine, it's an absolute straight replacement. And that actually, of course, is one of the great benefits, because with other potential forms of energy which could fuel demolition industry, you're going to have to change your engine completely, like hydrogen fuels, that kind of stuff. Here you've got something which I could literally pour this into my own diesel tank now, and it will continue to work that engine, with the advantages, of course, that come with that fuel. Obviously, two of the major problems that you've got in regard to the quality of fuel and the environmental aspects of the fuel are to do with the NOx emissions, so the nitrogen oxide, and you've also got the particulate matters. And as you know, it's the particulate matters that people are very concerned about at the moment, of various different sizes. So with this fuel, of course, I mean, you've got some very particular benefits here. NOx reductions of up to 40% and particulate matter reductions of up to 90%. So it's a very, very significant advantage over the conventional fuels, and that goes all the way back to the way it was made and what it's constructed of in the first place. Fuel consumption levels are the same, if not slightly better. It's not sold on the basis that it's better, but it's cleaner for the engine, makes the components work better. There's a longevity advantage to that as well. So there are no concerns over the actual quality, the burn rate. It has a higher what's called cetane number, so the kick, if you like, in this fuel that makes it work in an engine is actually stronger than conventional diesel. So there are no concerns of that type whatsoever. First of all, this fuel goes back to processes which were used in World War II. The fuel itself has been manufactured on a commercial basis for decades. It has a particular advantage now because, of course, we're concerned with environmental issues much more than we were previously. And so this is a fuel that's really coming into its own because it fits the social context better. In terms of its long-term benefits, first of all, it's much cleaner to use. It doesn't smell in anything like the same way that the normal fuels do. So if you've got guys working close to equipment all day long, you know that you'll come away smelling of fuel at the end of the day. You're going to have none of those problems with this kind of fuel. And people say they don't sometimes know the engines are on. Another advantage which would be very helpful in demolition is just cold start properties of this fuel. It's much better at starting and burning cleaner in the cold weather temperatures that people face. So there are advantages like that, as well as the fact that the maintenance schedule will probably be reduced as a result of this. It should burn cleaner through the various pieces of equipment that it's used in.
The reason we chose Shell was that one of the big concerns for our customers, and it's probably your demolition customers, the first question is, it might be a great fuel, but does it meet the warranties of my equipment? Can I put it in and I'm still covered on this £250,000 piece of equipment I've just invested in? And where Shell's product differs from other competitors of paraffinic fuels, they put huge investment into going through various warranties of the key main manufacturers, and that was one of the huge selling points to ourselves. And as I say, we've been working away at Shell with this project, and we've got very, very strong long-term relationships with Shell. There is a list of companies that have approved it, and certainly for anyone watching this and wants to know more, there's a category list of those that are covering it, and sometimes even if the company hasn't approved it, we're certainly happy to show the data sheets of what's in the product. But say it's been approved by multiple manufacturers, not just one or two. And the reason is that because it's actually a clean burning fuel, unlike previous products in the past, it's actually an improvement to filter systems. It helps because of the nature of paraffinic fuels. It actually keeps engines, reduces servicing costs. So one of the big case studies from the Netherlands of a big train operator actually found it extended the life of engine servicing and gaps between servicing due to the nature of the fuel. So I think that's why it's been approved by so many people. And then you've got a company like Certus Energy and a partner like Shell that actually gives a customer that confidence of two blue chip companies that are backing a fuel and its compliance.
There is a premium compared to a standard diesel, but that premium is a few pence a litre, and if you compare that to the advantages it has, which we've just been through in terms of being able to work in those environments in the first place where there are low emission zones, or even the benefits it has in terms of the way it works with the engine itself and the likely advantages in terms of the upkeep and the maintenance of that equipment, and then you compare it to the alternatives, which would be enormously expensive in terms of replacing plant, replacing engines, and getting into very substantial periods of time when that equipment's off the road as well. If you compare that small premium to the advantages of this fuel, then I think it's a real winner. It's interesting that I think over the course of time we're going to see more and more of these big tenders including some criteria about the type of fuel or the emissions that are generated, as well as just the quality of the work overall and the time and the cost and all those things. So I think we'll find that this type of fuel will become demanding through those tendering processes as much as it may be incentivised by either councils or government or anybody else who's in a position to do so.
Certus Energy is the UK's largest fuel distributor, and essentially we specialise in doing drops to customers from 500 litres up to 35,000 litres, and because we've got this network of 140 depots and 1,000 drivers, I think it's fair to say that we get contacted by a number of suppliers on a continuous basis, but we need to go with products that support our customer base. So the product itself, the GTL, is made by Shell, and we have a long-term relationship with Shell. So back in the mid-2000s we bought their UK distribution business off them, and we also have relationships across Europe. We've done partnerships with them in Denmark, and basically Shell felt that we are their best partner in rolling out this project. The real positive of GTL is once it is frozen into a liquid, so from the gas to liquid, it stays as a liquid. So it's not a question of, oh, I've got a really hot engine, will it suddenly turn to a different substance? The other real benefit is that it's essentially a constant winter grade. So because it has to go from a gas to liquid, whereas sometimes with normal gas oil you've got winter grade and summer grade, and you're a bit nervous about leaving it in a generator over a period of time. Say it's a generator that's not always used, or you have it on one site and it's going to be a few weeks before it's at the next site, you don't have that issue with GTL. So actually, in terms of that compliance side, it's a good one. And as I say, Brian's been working a lot on the sort of basics of paraffinic fuels and the issues on waxing. And
there is perhaps one other benefit that we ought to pick up on, which I think is hugely important and often overlooked, and that's that this is biodegradable. So if you were actually to spill this, it would naturally disperse within a period of maybe 6 weeks or so, something like that. You compare that to a conventional fuel where if you spill it, you're going to have quite substantial costs to clean that up. So, nobody likes to think of spilling it, but unfortunately sometimes these things happen, and it is a cost of business sometimes that we have to clean that up. So to anybody out there who's working on those construction sites, I think you have that peace of mind that you're using something which is much cleaner and will naturally disperse if it's spilt.
We've obviously put big investment into the southeast of England to support GTL. So today this interview has been done at Horsham Depot. We've just done a huge refurbishment of there so it can supply GTL to the Sussex market and to all those industries supporting the developments around both Gatwick and the Westfield project in Croydon. The other one is that we put big investment into Kent at the start of last year, so that can supply GTL. And from this spring, we will have a London solution on both of what we call all three grades of the product. So it can supply marine, it can supply on-road vehicles with white, and it can supply the demolition sector with the red version of GTL.